Whoever's just tuned in, what's up? Just getting the camera set up, so bear with me. Making sure that the dials are correct. All right, cool, awesome. Well, good, great, grand, wonderful. All right. Let's see. Do the sunglasses add to it, or do they cannot? Jordan. All right. I feel like, yeah, I think this could work. I think this could work. All right. All right. We're going to get started. For anyone who's tuning in, just know that we are starting here in T-minus a few seconds-ish. Yikes, that's loud. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Okay, awesome. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Michael Oldroyd Comedy Podcast. This is episode 178. Very jazzed to be with yous and with myself. We're all in this together, or none of us are, because I'm recording it right now, and I don't know how many people are going to be listening. So it could be 0 to infinity and anywhere in between. So with that said, regardless, I have a feeling that at least one other human being aside from myself will witness this podcast in some way, shape, or form. Hopefully it affects you positively. And if it does, it was worth it, because I care. Empathy is my greatest strength. And in some ways, sometimes my greatest weakness, which we're also going to talk about in this episode. So either way, thank you guys for tuning in. It's Tuesday, February 7th, 2023. Wearing my Michael Jordan college basketball authentic jersey here. Jordan, right? The year of Jordan, aka 23. We just had a January 2/3/23. Yeah, we just had 2/3/23 the other day, which is 23/23. All right, whatever. If you're not a fan of basketball or Jordan, you can be a fan of his greatness. Whether you like him or not, that's all aside from the point. Anyway, I just got back from New York, and I was actually at the Michael Jordan Nike store in Soho yesterday. I saw a nice vest there that I wanted, and I didn't indulge. You know what I mean? Because I was wearing a vest at the time. The brand equity and the aesthetic of it was not as nice. And I was like, I'm not gonna spoil myself with something that's not actually physically needed. The aesthetic would be nice, and the brand and the pizzazz and the pop. You know what I mean? That'd be nice. But is it necessary? No, right? Not at all. So didn't indulge. Would have loved to. Did take a picture of it though, and I'm gonna probably consider getting it later. Either way, apparently the air conditioning is on right now. So give me 1 second while I go turn that off. Will you? Appreciate it. Okay. So people that are live, welcome. Let's see here. Stay in frame. That's kind of where the frame is right there. You know what? Let's do this. Get a little bit of. Speaking of aesthetics, right? Just give you guys a little bit more, making it seem a little nicer than it is. And just trick the people who. Okay. All right, so made it back, turned the air off, and we are in a great position to make this happen. So, I just wanted to apologize for the audio that for anyone that listened to last week's episode through Spotify or on any of your downloadable podcast platforms last week. I do apologize because there was an audio glitch, and for one day the audio sounded like it was Jim Carrey coming out of the rhino's anus in Ace Ventura 2 When Nature Calls. So I do apologize for that. The quality was subpar. It was not professional. Fixed it when I realized that I had made a mistake and uploaded the wrong audio. Nevertheless, part of the reason for that is because I am now streaming the episodes live on YouTube when I'm recording them, aka right now in this moment. In my experience of this moment, which is different than yours depending on when you ingest this, but in my current experience, and for anyone who's tuning in live on YouTube, that is a new dynamic. It's kind of like when SNL gets hosted, right? So, or gets puts an episode out there. There's a difference between recording it on your own time and then releasing it once it's edited, right? There's a live version and then a post live edit. Right now, for anyone that wants to tune in, there's no way for you to know this because you're not going to hear me saying that unless you're already tuning in, or if you get a notification that I'm live, whatever it is, talking about the semantics. Either way, and it's kind of intriguing, right? But either way, I am recording this live right now on YouTube. My handle is the Droid, THEDROYD. It's the Droid everywhere, right? So the Droid is my handle. It's every platform, including YouTube. Subscribe, follow, do the damn thing. Not on TikTok because, that China balloon really, it just, it really reassured me that it's good that I got off TikTok. All right. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. So let us, so I apologized, and I apologized to myself, and I'm going to tell myself as a return, hey man, don't sweat it. It happens, right? Part of love is self-love, and part of reflectiveness is, and I also believe that when you are talking to people, you're also talking to yourself in a way, because we're all one. So really starting this episode off existential, but let's go ahead and just jump right into what's going on in the world. How about that? Does that sound like a plan? All right, let's do it. For the people that are watching live on YouTube right now, just know that between segments, I take quick breaks to let the stuff save and whatnot. So, all right, guys. So, what is going on in the world? Well, first thing I'd like to do is make another clarification about last week. Someone brought it to my attention that my reference to the Taliban was incorrect, or the Taliban. So apparently two things were incorrect. My reference to the Taliban as well as the Holy Land. I don't know if this person's correct or not. I didn't even fact check them, but I could be. Either way, the Holy Land apparently is for Muslims in Mecca, or the Holy Land for Muslims is in Mecca, and that's in Saudi Arabia. And then I said, oh, I thought that was, Palestine. They said, no, the reason they're upset there is because it's occupied land. So, yeah, I didn't get the reason about the Taliban, but I did give you guys the caveat that I wasn't sure that I 100% knew about that. So either way, wanted to start the thing off with a quick little crayon correction there. We all make little mistakes here and there, but it's good to acknowledge them. And since I don't do all these episodes with another person, it's good to self-correct, right? So anyway, let's talk about what's going on in the world. Egg prices apparently are up. Whoop-de freaking do. I have some eggs in my fridge, so I'll see if I can make those last. I don't even know. I don't care. I don't know. I mean, as long as they're not too expensive, right? Does that sound cocky? I don't mean for that to sound cocky. Maybe that comes off like, oh, I'm not saying that I'm, like rich and, like that's not what I say when I don't care. I guess I just don't care. All right. Interest rate news. The Fed went up by 0.25. They announced last week. If you guys didn't notice, I had a hypothesis that if it went up by 0.5, the stock market would go down because it means that it's a huge jump still, and we're still like chasing it to curb inflation. If it went up by 0.25, which it did, then that would be a good thing. It wouldn't be tremendous and outstanding in every way, but it would be a good thing. And then if it was 0%, the stock market would have completely soared. Now, the stock market did go up because it was a relief that we only went up by 0.25, but it didn't like last. And then that was my exact hypothesis. So give it up for me. I'm freaking, Nostradamus over here. And I have time-stamped tweets to prove that that was my hypothesis before it happened. So I also went to do some research after I made these hypotheses, and a lot of people made these hypotheses as well. So I guess it's not that, like super hot take, cutting edge / someone might even think that I just read a finance blog and that's how I formed my opinion, which it wasn't. It was literally, I just understand economics enough to like form a decent hypothesis there. So anywho, any panties getting wet? Let's move on. All right. Interest rate news. Already talked about it. Chinese spy plane. You guys noticed last week how the Chinese spy plane would come up in conversation? It was always kind of funny. You'd be like at a bar or something, and you just kind of hear something. Just a little. It starts off as just like a little mumble. So you're just there, whether you're by yourself, maybe you're with friends and you're not talking about it. You just kind of hear, just spy balloon, China, Chinese spy balloon. Yeah, Chinese spy balloon. Yeah, what's the latest with that? Well, it's actually just flying over Missouri right now. Oh my god, it's still in the air. So like it's really an intriguing, almost funny. It was funny to witness how the Chinese spy balloon was kind of like, not only was it physically flying over the U.S., but the conversation was kind of like floating around as well in a similar manner throughout, the U.S., wondering what the fuck is going on. Yeah, I don't know too much about it. All I know is that we waited till it passed through the U.S. before we shot it down over water, because I guess they didn't want to. I heard that they didn't want to, shoot it down over civilian areas just in case. Who knows, right? Not a safety precaution. What was in it? I don't know. I think they're looking into that maybe, but I do know that I don't like that we waited until it went over the entire country. I don't know anything about it other than, don't you shoot that down before it goes into domestic airspace? I don't know the law or like the defense policy about shooting things or what airspaces things are allowed or not allowed. But what I don't like is that it just was able to roam freely for everyone to go, what the fuck is going on? So, it is what it is. Everyone's got their different opinion. I was at a bar, I remember on Friday maybe, and everyone's got their own take, especially up in Florida where it's super woke. Some guys like, it's completely overblown. I can't believe all these people on the right that think that we should blow it up. It's really functionally like, just this guy sounded smart at first, and then everyone at the bar started to question his judgment. At first, he looks like this, like, he looked like the guy from Enemy of the State. He looked like someone that would like give Will Smith that like that like USB flash drive that, ended, remember in the movie Enemy of the State, and also Gene Hackman's character is maybe a better. So this guy kind of looked like Gene Hackman, which turned out, by the way, Gene Hackman's character was freaking awesome. So maybe if this guy really is like him, then I should shut my mouth. But either way, he kind of had that vibe, super opinionated and speaking matter of factly, as if he was stating things as if he knew their facts, and everyone, at first was like, oh, interesting, and then he got into the Ukraine, like, you're at a bar, these are with strangers, and then like a political discussion breaks out, which I don't know how often that happens, but suddenly we're talking about Ukraine and everyone's like pitching in, and this guy's got this hot take that, Ukraine, that this whole thing is completely misportrayed, and that Ukraine is not a victim, and blah blah blah, and and I remember immediately thinking, state your fucking sources, not in a combative way. I said it like comedically, and everyone kind of like laughed, because it's like, you can't be saying outrageous things without showing evidence or explaining your source, right? So like to speak so confidently, but to a stranger, right? There's no credibility that had been developed. You can't develop credibility with a stranger unless you like say, hi, here's my badge, I work for blah blah blah, I'm part of Area 51, here's my badge. So I think you guys get what I'm trying to say. It's entertaining to watch strangers react to things and how they do it and their perspective. And these hot takes sometimes are pretty entertaining and humorous. So whatever, right? Let's move on before my head explodes, because that is all I care to talk about on that specific topic. A big thing that's happening tonight is the State of the Union. So he'll be covering a bunch of the stuff. Speaking of Biden, that's who I'm talking about, right? Joseph R. Biden. What's his middle name? Is it Robinette? I think it's actually. Am I mistaken? Hey Alexa, what's Joe Biden's middle name? Yeah, that's right. So Joseph Robinette will be doing the whatever you want to call it. It's called the State of the Union tonight. I forget which time. You guys can Google it if you're intrigued. I'm sure he'll talk about the Chinese spy balloon. Lots of jokes on Twitter about the Chinese spy balloon. Made a few myself. I think one of the Alexa, stop. I think the one that I'm most proud of is pretty soon there'll be Chinese spy balloon storks dropping off female babies because of the one-child policy that they have in China. A little bit cutting edge. As you guys know, that joke's not relevant if you really pay attention, because they actually, last week when I told you in my podcast that they no longer have any restrictions on number of children you can have. So gosh dang it, just before I come up with a great joke about the one-child policy, China goes off and does the right thing, by, eradicating that blasphemous rule. So, it's funny how you have these conversations at a bar with a stranger. It's fun to go out by yourself sometimes. And maybe it's more fun in a place like New York, I don't know. So I can't say that as a matter of fact, but I had a blast just going out and like letting a scene unfold before my eyes. You go to UCB, you learn how to do scene structure, and literally just sat at a bar, grabbed a coffee, didn't even drink, and just let a scene unfold before my eyes. And slow little conversation, sidebars, people meeting. Then suddenly it like develops into this giant, like we're all talking now, and one guy's over here to my left talking about, I fucking love capitalism. You know what? Back before imperialism took, just like, it's amazing the spider holes that we could go down from, 1 second. It's like, hey, can I get a cup of coffee? To fuck that, fascist, just, it's intriguing, entertaining nonetheless. So, State of the Union tonight. I think that covers that. Quick update, Apple's HomePod. I didn't know. So I went into the Apple store in New York. I never do like My trip to New York, and I'll tell you guys a little bit more later. I went to New York the last 5 days, and it was really nice to resync up with the city. Talk about that more. But I had free time to do random shit like just walk around, go in stores, walking around Soho. That's where I was staying. So go to my the Nike store, of course, see what new Jordan products are on display. Make myself try to convince myself that I don't need a nice new Jordan vest. Stop by the Apple store, find out if they have any new products. I remember I went up to one guy and I'm like, hey, if Apple has any new products? And apparently he didn't even work there, but we were standing by a product called the HomePod, which is like Apple's version of Alexa or Amazon Prime's version of Alexa. I hope she doesn't think I'm talking to her real quick. So let's whisper. Fuck, she's making noises. Fuck, it's like a chick, you know what I mean? Like when you. All right. Anyway, let's slow it down. I'm gonna breathe real quick because I feel like I'm talking really fast, and I hope that doesn't give anyone apprehensiveness or make your legs shake. When you're doing this thing, like whatever. Where you? All right. Let's take it down a notch. Let's go. All right. The Apple HomePod is an apparatus where when I heard it, I was like, how do you address it, right? For Alexa, it's hey Alexa, right? But for Apple's HomePod, I was like, what do you say? Like, hey Steve Jobs, and they're like, no, it's Siri. So I'm like, oh fuck, that's obvious, right? So anyway, so that's an update for you guys. I don't know how long that's been around, so forgive me if that's been around for like a couple of years. Then that my bad for not knowing. To me, that's a new update. For you guys, you might be like, Mike, what the f? I've had that. I have 3 of them. I don't know. All right, so that's that update. Let's move on to. I heard that At the Cabin is like the number 1 at the box office now. I guess Avatar has dropped now. I guess it's been in the theaters long enough. Still haven't seen it, by the way. Need to see it, want to see it. Still haven't seen Black Panther either. Did my hypothesis last week come true that it was released on... My hypothesis was that on February 1st, it would be released on Disney+. I don't know if that came true or not, but that's still my hypothesis. Haven't checked it, but that's my hypothesis. So if it is, then I need to watch it soon. What I did watch... Oh, let me just say this one thing about At the Cabin. It's a scary movie, apparently, I believe. I guess we're going to have a talk about overcoming fear at the end of this podcast that I think will tie in. So in the meantime, I'll go back to the Black Panther. Reminded me of The Woman King when I was flying to and from New York. The Woman King intrigued me enough to start it and continue it. Still haven't finished it, so maybe on my next flight I'll finish where I left off with The Woman King. Liked it a lot, I'll be honest. I thought it was pretty cool. Talk about the slave trade and how Africa, was selling its own people and part of the slave trade. And it was very intriguing. I think it's important for Black History Month. It's a good picture to be aware of. And I really liked the message of strength and the beauty that the main character, she's a very strong woman, and the king that she serves there. I forget what part of Africa or how much of this is based on a true story, but it definitely resonates with kind of like the fundamental good and evil and becoming an enabler of a terrible thing like the slave trade. And there's active participation in anything and passive participation. I think passive is when they say you're complicit, right? You didn't actually like do the thing, but because you didn't stop it, you're complicitly guilty. So anyway, those are all kind of interesting and important things to kind of think about when watching a movie like that. So let's move on to the Grammys. I guess the Grammys happened Sunday night. Didn't have time to watch them. Was in New York, tearing it up, mixing it up. Trying to mix it up in the sack, but didn't watch the Grammys. I heard Beyonce missed some big award because she was stuck in LA traffic. Go figure. Why am I not surprised? I feel like at one point when I lived in LA, I thought the best way to travel anywhere and the only way you really should is via helicopter. And I thought that until, and this is not a joke, I truly actually thought that until what happened with Kobe Bryant. And then I thought, I guess people are really gonna just fucking have to deal with the traffic now, because I don't think I think we all saw that, and just, you don't think that can happen, but that was a very sad accident that took place, and a lot of us are still mourning that loss. And when I talk about Jordan, you can't forget Kobe, his little brother, who is right up in there. Top three probably basketball players who've ever lived: Jordan, Kobe, and then LeBron, who I don't know how I feel about him. We'll skip that for now. Don't want to get into a deep discussion on that, because I think there's things about each of them that are spectacular and admirable, and each are different people and different players. And RIP, and God bless Kobe Bryant. And way to not only be a great basketball player, but kind of make girl dad like a hashtag that's like a really cool and an awesome thing. So, and speaking of girl dads, for the women out there that may grow up and become a great woman king, gotta have a good girl dad to do it. So, yeah. Anyway, king, queen, monarch, whatever. Right? We don't live in those days here in the United States, but in 2023. But monarch is probably the most common form of political leader throughout history. And the term is, it's interchangeable with different cultures. Obviously, a monarch, king or emperor, sultan, whatever. All right. I am the emperor and chief executive officer of Droid Entertainment. So, yeah, the chief, right? Chief executive officer. Speaking of chiefs, the Super Bowl is coming up a week from yesterday. Actually, today's Tuesday, so it's going to be here in 5 days. So Super Bowl Sabbath will be here very soon between the Kansas City Chiefs, or the king of that tribe, different tribes, right? And the Philadelphia Eagles, the bald eagle, the symbol of the United States of America. I don't know if the Philadelphia Eagles are limited to just bald eagles. In fact, I don't know if bald eagles are even part of their type of eagle. Maybe it's just any eagle. I don't know what the specific type of eagle. If it's not a bald eagle, I don't want Philly to win. You know what I mean? So let me just say that. Yeah. All right. So, is there anything else to talk about? Yeah. What's going on in the comedy world? Yeah. Let's move on to the next segment. What's going on in the comedy world, guys? And I see said a blind man as he picked up his hammer and saw that my live stream has ended. So bear with me for a second. All right, give me a second to get. Guys, if you're wondering what the heck is going on right now, what I'm doing is I am in between segments and I'm resetting up my 4K camera so that you can see it. See the picture, whatever you want to call it. All right. Let's see how we're doing, huh? Let's see how we're friggin' doing.